As a high school student, you walk into that quiet exam room, extra time on the clock, no distractions. It should feel like a relief, right? But your heart is still racing, your palms are sweaty, and that all too familiar knot of anxiety sits heavy on your chest. If school accommodations are supposed to help you with test anxiety, why do you still feel like you're going to fall apart? What if I told you that the very thing designed to make tests and assignments easier might actually be making your anxiety worse in the long run? How do I know? As a 17-year high school English teacher, I see this every single year. Accommodations that make strong students more anxious than ever before. So in this video, I'll explain to you why those accommodations designed to make you feel safe make your anxiety worse. And more importantly, I'll share the one science-based technique that's flipped this mindset for even my most anxious students. I'll share that with you in just a bit. But first, we have to answer a simple question. How did we get here? How did something that's meant to help you actually make things so much worse? High school accommodations teach your brain one very powerful lesson. This situation is dangerous and I can't handle it. But here's the part every school is not talking about. It's that anxiety feeds on avoidance because every time you avoid something that makes you nervous, it makes the anxiety grow. I call this the accommodations trap, and it works like this. First, accommodations remove the immediate stressor. And for this example, let's use the super common modified presentation. So by removing the stressor, we move on to step two, which is you avoid the hard thing. So for example, you may just have to present to your teacher, or you don't have to do the presentation at all. And that leads us to the third step. You never get to practice and build that confidence, which at least for presentations, includes things like building rapport with the audience, rehearsing the presentation beforehand, thinking on your feet if, something goes wrong. And this lack of practice leads to our fourth step, which is simply that the anxiety grows. So I modify a presentation. What's the big deal, I hear you say? I need those accommodations or else I'd fail. Fair enough, but here's my counter. You skip presentations in front of the class all throughout high school. And you graduate feeling great, but then boom, college or university hits and you're in a class where the seminar presenting in front of others is 40% of your final grade. Or perhaps this scenario will inevitably come up. The job interview. What is a job interview if not another presentation? It's simply you presenting to your potential employer why they should hire you. Or perhaps you land that job and then now you have to make presentations to your team. You catch my point. I don't need to go on because I think you catch my point, but the accommodations trap is that currently high school makes sure you never have to face your fears. But students know, one day you will. Removing those stressors robs you of growth opportunity. And that's really where the double punch hits. You avoid the thing and ultimately believe you can't do it. So let's stop being all doom and gloom and let's flip this. So remember what I said earlier about the accommodations trap, that anxiety feeds on avoidance? Well, here's the opposite. Action alleviates anxiety. Anxiety grows with avoidance and shrinks with action, because every time you act, you prove your brain wrong. Confidence doesn't really come from feeling ready. It really comes from being scared and doing the thing anyways. Now, I'm not telling you to jump into the deep end and imagine your anxiety isn't there. It is. We can't ignore that. But to overcome this anxiety, you have to use that other classic learn to swim metaphor, dipping your toe in the water. Science obviously has more technical terms, and they call this exposure therapy. And it works by helping you face what feels hard, breaking down what you feel anxious about into smaller, more manageable steps. Ultimately, this teaches your brain, hey, I can do this. Let's keep going. The goal of exposure therapy is to start small and build your confidence one step at a time. Let's go back to our presentation example. So with exposure therapy, what you do is you break down that larger anxiety, fear of classroom presentations, and build up your exposure step by step until you feel comfortable presenting. For example, step one could be presenting to yourself in a mirror. Step two could be recording yourself and watching it back. And step three could be presenting to a friend. Then you can move on to potentially step four, presenting to just your teacher. And maybe step five is actually clicking the slides for other students so that you're used to being in front of the class. Step six could be something like presenting to a small group, which might actually lead up to step seven, where you're comfortable enough and your anxiety is small enough that you ultimately present in front of the class. And that is how exposure therapy works. You can use this for any anxiety you have in school, because what you don't want to do is chase comfort, which is what the accommodations trap gives you. You want to chase competence, and you can break down that competence into smaller and smaller steps. Because if you're anxious, it doesn't mean you're weak. It just means that you're training and that you're normal. And if you felt that this video has been incredibly helpful and you want other mindset tricks that are going to help you dominate high school English, earn those 90s, you can click on this playlist here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.